Nicole Kidman has made her first public appearance since her split from Keith Urban.
We've been through a lot together.
We've got a timeline for it now, and the time it's now.
For nearly 2 decades, the world watched them hold hands on red carpets and smile for cameras. But what if everything we saw was a lie? After 19 years of marriage, Nicole finally walked away. And when she did, she didn't stay silent. New court documents, changed interviews, and surprising statements have revealed a marriage that was cracking from the inside. The love story Hollywood believed in was never what it seemed. And now, the real story is coming out. Like and subscribe to see more celebrity stories that shocked the world. In 2005, 2 Australian superstars crossed paths at a fancy Hollywood party. Nicole Kidman was a decorated actress who had just survived a painful divorce from Tom Cruise. Keith Urban was a country music star with talent, charm, and a dangerous secret. He had been fighting addiction for years. Neither was looking for love. But sometimes, broken people are attracted to each other like magnets. Nicole didn't even think Keith was interested when they first met. He was quiet, polite. He took her number, but didn't call for months. When he finally did reach out, something shifted. He represented freedom to her. She represented stability to him. By the end of 2005, they were inseparable. What the world didn't know was that this attraction wasn't based on perfect chemistry. It was based on need. Nicole desperately wanted to rebuild the family she'd lost. Her previous marriage had cost her custody of her adopted children, Isabella and Connor. That wound never fully healed. With Keith, she saw a second chance. She saw redemption. Keith, on the other hand, saw a lifeline. His addiction had nearly destroyed him. He'd been in and out of rehab, wrestling with demons that alcohol and drugs had created. Nicole wasn't just beautiful. She was powerful, successful, stable. To him, she looked like the one person who might save him from himself. In June 2006, they got married in a lavish ceremony in Sydney. Nicole wore a beautiful Balenciaga dress. Keith looked like the romantic hero she always wanted. The media called it a fairy tale. Magazine covers announced that Australia's golden couple had found true love. Everyone believed in them. But the fairy tale didn't last long. Just 4 months after the wedding, Keith checked himself into rehab for alcohol addiction. The tabloids called it a bombshell. The marriage was barely started, and already there were problems. Nicole was devastated, but she didn't leave. She stood by him. She visited him in treatment. She told the world that their love was strong enough to survive anything. What Nicole didn't realize was that this moment set the tone for everything that would follow. She had become his savior, and he had become her project. From the outside, Nicole and Keith looked like they had it all figured out. They had beautiful daughters, Sunday Rose in 2008 and Faith Margaret in 2010. They attended red carpet events together. They gave interviews where they gushed about each other. But behind closed doors, something was very different. Nicole had stepped into a role she never intended to play. She became the strong one, the stable one, the one who held everything together while Keith pursued his music career. He was constantly touring. She was constantly managing the household, the children, the image, the fear that he might relapse at any moment. Keith's addiction didn't disappear just because he loved Nicole. Addiction doesn't work that way. It's a disease that requires real treatment, real work, and real commitment. Nicole wasn't a cure. She was just a wife trying to keep her family from falling apart. But with every passing year, the weight got heavier. She was checking his phone. She was monitoring his behavior. She was anxious whenever he was away on tour. The control she thought was love was actually becoming something else, resentment. By the 2010s, cracks were starting to show. Keith was on the road constantly, playing concerts and traveling the world. Nicole was filming movies in different countries. They were apart more than they were together. Long-distance relationships are hard for anyone. But when one partner is struggling with addiction and the other is struggling with control, distance becomes deadly. Friends started to notice that they seemed less connected. Their public displays of affection looked rehearsed. When they walked red carpets together, their smiles looked forced. They told interviewers that their marriage was stronger than ever, but the words sounded hollow. They were saying what people wanted to hear, not what was actually true. Nicole was also growing tired. Tired of worrying about Keith. Tired of being strong. Tired of carrying the relationship on her shoulders. Keith, meanwhile, was starting to feel suffocated. He didn't want a mother. He didn't want a savior. He wanted an equal. But Nicole couldn't stop trying to fix him, and Keith couldn't stop needing to be fixed. By 2020, something had shifted. The couple stopped doing interviews together. They stopped talking about each other in public. When asked about their marriage, they gave brief, generic answers. "We're doing great," they would say, but they weren't doing great. They were barely holding on. Photographers and paparazzi started noticing things. Nicole would show up to events alone. Keith would go on tour without his wedding ring. They were photographed less and less together. The story that had once captivated the world was suddenly falling apart in real time, and almost nobody was paying attention. What made this even sadder was that Nicole and Keith probably still loved each other. But love, it turns out, isn't always enough. When you're built on a foundation of need rather than partnership, when one person is always trying to save the other, when control masquerades as care, eventually the whole thing collapses. If you're shocked by what you're learning, comment below and share your thoughts on this incredible story. The 2020s brought new stress to an already fragile relationship. The world was changing. COVID happened. Everyone was locked down. Touring stopped. Filming stopped. Nicole and Keith were forced to spend time together. And for the first time in years, they couldn't escape into their work. They also had 2 teenage daughters who were old enough to understand that something was wrong. Sunday and Faith could see the tension. They could feel the disconnection. They could sense that their parents were staying together more out of obligation than love. No parent wants to feel like their kids know the marriage is broken. But Nicole and Keith couldn't hide it anymore. Keith's addiction issues also resurfaced periodically. Nothing dramatic or public, but Nicole knew. She always knew. And every time it happened, a little part of her died inside. She thought love would fix this. She thought her presence would be enough. But addiction doesn't care about love. By 2023 and 2024, the rumors became impossible to ignore. Entertainment reporters were asking harder questions. Were they still together? Were they separated? Sources told tabloids that they were living separate lives. Nicole was seen wearing different rings, notably not her wedding ring in some photos. Keith showed up to events without his wedding band. The couple tried to shut down the gossip. They posted couple photos on Instagram. They appeared together at a few events. But it felt performative, like they were acting the parts of a married couple rather than actually being one. The magic was gone. The spark had been replaced with something that looked more like obligation. What's interesting is that Nicole and Keith never had a big public fight. There was no screaming, no accusations, no cheating scandal. It was just a slow, quiet fading. The kind of heartbreak that's invisible to the world but devastating to experience. They were 2 successful people who had simply grown too different to stay together. By 2024, it was clear to anyone paying attention that something had fundamentally changed. Keith wanted freedom. He wanted to be able to make mistakes without judgment. He wanted to be treated like an adult, not a project that needed constant management. Nicole wanted peace. She wanted a partner who could be an equal, not someone she had to constantly monitor and protect. These aren't bad desires. They're human desires. But they were incompatible with each other. Nicole couldn't give Keith the freedom he wanted because she was too afraid he would self-destruct. Keith couldn't accept Nicole's protection because it made him feel small and weak. So they lived in this strange limbo, together but apart, connected but disconnected, loving but resentful. The relationship had become a cage for both of them. In September 2025, Nicole made her move. She filed for divorce in Tennessee, citing irreconcilable differences. Those 4 words contained 19 years of pain, disappointment, and heartbreak. But she didn't issue a dramatic statement. She didn't go on talk shows to explain herself. She simply filed the papers and moved forward. What was remarkable about Nicole's decision was that she did it quietly and with intention. She asked for primary custody of Sunday and Faith. She didn't ask for spousal support. She didn't try to destroy Keith in court. She just wanted out, cleanly and with as little drama as possible. She wanted to move forward and rebuild her life. But Keith's response was very different. He had different things to say. Just days after the divorce news broke, Keith took the stage in Pennsylvania. He was performing, and for the first time since the split, he wasn't hiding anything. He removed his wedding ring before the show. He walked on stage a free man. But he was also an angry man, a hurt man, a man who needed the world to know his version of the story. During his concert, Keith changed the lyrics to one of his most famous songs. In You'll Think of Me, he replaced the line, "Take your space and take your reasons" with "take your unreasonable reasons." The crowd gasped. Everyone knew he was talking about Nicole. He wasn't being subtle about it. He was angry, and he wanted her to know it. He also refused to sing The Fighter, a song many believe he wrote about his marriage to Nicole. He literally dropped it from his set list. He removed it from his concert, as if removing her from his life. Between songs, he talked about his childhood, his struggles, his journey, everything Nicole had heard 1,000 times before. But now he was telling it to thousands of strangers, and his tone was different. It wasn't grateful. It was resentful. Keith's performance felt like a public rebuttal. He wasn't going to be Nicole's victim. He wasn't going to let her tell the story alone. His concert became his way of fighting back, of saying, "This is my side. This is what it was really like." Drop a comment if you think Keith's response was fair or if he crossed a line. We want to hear what you think. After Keith's dramatic concert, Nicole didn't respond with anger or public statements. She did something more powerful. She simply lived her life. She was photographed at film festivals. She was seen with her daughters. She attended events alone. She wore no wedding ring. Her body language was different, more relaxed, more at peace. Nicole's silence was louder than any words could be. By not fighting back, by not trading insults with Keith, by not dragging the divorce through the media, she showed the world something important. She showed that she was the adult in the situation. She showed that she had moved on. She showed that she was no longer willing to perform. In interviews around this time, Nicole spoke carefully about marriage. She talked about how it requires work, how it's not always a fairy tale, how sometimes you have to make hard choices. These weren't attacks on Keith. They were statements of truth. And they told a very different story than the one Keith was telling on stage. The divorce documents revealed that Nicole would have primary custody of their 2 daughters. This was significant because it suggested that Keith's lifestyle, constant touring, late nights, travel, wasn't suitable for raising teenagers. Keith didn't fight this arrangement. He accepted it, but insiders said it broke his heart. This detail is important because it tells us something about both of them. Keith clearly loves his daughters. The fact that he didn't fight Nicole for custody suggests that even he knew she was the better parent to have them most of the time. That had to be painful for him to accept, but it was also the right choice for the girls. Nicole, meanwhile, seemed to find peace in finally being able to focus on what mattered most to her, her children and herself. She had spent so many years trying to save Keith that she had lost herself in the process. Now, she was getting herself back. As more information came out, a different picture of their marriage began to emerge. It wasn't a love story destroyed by addiction. It was a love story destroyed by incompatibility. Nicole needed stability and control. Keith needed freedom and spontaneity. These are 2 different life philosophies, and you can't make them work if both people refuse to bend. Nicole had also been struggling with the weight of being Keith's emotional support for so long. She had become his therapist, his mother, his manager, and his wife all at once. That's too much for one person to be. Eventually, that person breaks. Keith, meanwhile, had been struggling with the feeling that he could never be enough. No matter what he did, Nicole was always worried, always monitoring, always afraid he would relapse. That's a prison, even if it's made of love. The story of Nicole and Keith is a tragedy because it's a story about 2 good people who loved each other but couldn't make it work. It's not a story about betrayal or infidelity or cruelty. It's a story about incompatibility. It's a story about what happens when 2 people need different things and neither person is willing or able to change. Nicole taught the world something important with her divorce. She showed that it's okay to walk away from a marriage even if you still love your partner. She showed that self-preservation is sometimes more important than staying for appearance's sake. She showed that strength isn't about holding on. Sometimes, strength is about letting go. Keith's dramatic performance also taught us something. It taught us that pain expressed is better than pain suppressed. He got his anger out on stage. He didn't bottle it up. Whether we agree with how he did it or not, at least he was honest about his feelings. Now, in 2026, both Nicole and Keith are moving forward separately. Nicole has focused on her daughters and her acting career. She seems lighter, happier, less burdened. She no longer has to worry about Keith's sobriety or his career or his emotions. She could just be a mother and a woman who takes care of herself. Keith continues to tour and perform. His concerts have become more emotional, more raw. Some fans love it. Others think he should move on. But at least he's being authentic now. He's not pretending anymore. He's not playing the role of the reformed bad boy married to the perfect woman. He's just Keith, broken, talented, struggling, and honest. The fairy tale is over. But in some ways, the real story is just beginning. Both Nicole and Keith have the chance to become who they're supposed to be. Not as partners, but as individuals. What we learned from Nicole Kidman and Keith Urban's divorce is that Hollywood marriages aren't magic. They're made of the same ingredients as every other marriage. Love, yes, but also compromise, sacrifice, and acceptance. When one person is always trying to fix the other, when one person is always afraid, when there's no room for growth or change, even the strongest love can't survive. Nicole and Keith will probably always care about each other. They have two beautiful daughters together. They have 19 years of memories. But caring about someone isn't the same as being able to live with them. And that's okay. That's human. That's real. The world wanted their love story to work out because it made us believe in redemption and second chances. But sometimes, real love looks like walking away. It looks like recognizing that you're hurting someone, even if you're trying to help. It looks like choosing peace over performance. Nicole Kidman completely exposed Keith Urban's struggles, not through words, but through her silence. Her decision to leave, her quiet refusal to engage in public drama, and her choice to move forward showed the world exactly what their marriage had become: a performance, not a partnership. Subscribe now to never miss stories like this, and turn on notifications so you see our newest videos first.